Turning overseas now to the spectacular show of force today in Hong Kong. The massive crowd defying police orders. Take a look. Organizers say more than 1 million people packed Victoria Park in one of the biggest pro-democracy protests since demonstrations began back in June. At the same time, the Chinese military keeping a close eye from a sports stadium just across the border. ABC senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is in Hong Kong.
Tonight, protesters young and old, a sea of citizens beneath a sea of umbrellas, out in force, braving the rain and defying police orders not to march through the heart of Hong Kong. Roads and sidewalks overflowing. Organisers claim it was at least 1.7 million strong, nearly a quarter of the entire population here, marching for their right to democracy and against growing Chinese influence.
Hundreds of thousands of people have gathered in central Hong Kong. They refuse to step to one side, even if the Chinese send troops across the border.
The turnout closely watched as a test of public support after a turbulent 11 weeks, where riot police have at times rained tear gas on protesters on the streets, clashing with them in the airport.
The campaign have the support, but the government doesn't.
Protesters making 5 key demands centred around the decision-making and freedoms for the citizens of this global financial centre.
And our demand is crystal clear. We hope President Xi could realize that sending troops to Hong Kong is not the way out.
The threat of Chinese military intervention looming over this semi-autonomous territory, Beijing warning they can stop this at any moment. Staging military demonstrations just across the border in nearby Shenzhen, only 20 miles away, releasing this video in their own show of force and a very clear threat.
Are you afraid that the Chinese will send troops or police across the border?
Yes, of course we will be afraid.
Tonight, Hong Kong's Beijing-backed government saying rebuilding social order is the highest priority when everything calms down. But the question is how and when that'll happen.
And that question being asked around the world. Ian Pannell joining us from Hong Kong. And Ian, protesters telling you tonight they will stay in the streets despite the threat of a violent crackdown.
Yeah, that's right, Whit. No one is ready to back down. This protest was a huge success and peaceful. And you know what's remarkable? They're not unafraid, but they are determined. It's now or never. So the Chinese have a dilemma here. If they offer concessions, it risks setting a dangerous precedent for a one-party communist state that relies on authoritarian rule. And if they crack down violently, then the world is watching and can respond economically. And President Trump, in those comments this evening, also saying that he will find it difficult to do a trade deal with China if it doesn't respond to the crisis here humanely. Whit?
Ian Pannell for us again. Thank you.